confidence that you can accept the blows.
As a point of interest, none of my men wear protection in the groin. None.
After all, you wouldn't want your attacker to get injured.
That hurt my foot.
We had two good chances in the first half, and we had some other situations running in behind their back line. Today, I think it was more complete with a little bit more of determination, more speed and quality. And I think when we play in that way, sometimes we can win like today, but for the opponent, it's difficult.
Well, welcome everyone to the Afterburn Soccer Show. That was FC Dallas head coach Nico Estevez speaking to reporters. Just a little snippet there after the win at home to keep MLS Cup playoff hopes alive for FC Dallas, to keep this run in MLS Cup as a possibility as they beat Seattle Sounders at home 3-1, making life difficult for the Sounders. I'm Nathan Hill. You can follow me at Nathan J. Hill on Twitter. And at least for the time being, I keep thinking I'm going to get off that website. But and with me is my good buddy Jose Carmona at El Chico Carmona on Twitter.
What's up, everybody?
X. Yeah. We're excited to welcome you as we'll take your questions, your comments live here on the Afterburn Soccer Show, and also post the audio later. So if you can't catch the show live, you can follow along when that time comes, and when you're on that commute or whatever platform of choice that you find podcasts on, look up the Afterburn Soccer Show, and we'll be there. So it's been an interesting 2 weeks. We didn't have a show last week, so we have a lot to catch up on. Of course, playoffs have begun. We've already seen St. Louis, the expansion side, first year and that top spot in the West getting booted out of the playoffs by their in-state rival, Sporting Kansas City. But hey, FC Dallas had to take care of things at home after a disappointing 2-0 loss in Seattle. A penalty kick given up by Marco Farfan. Just not the performance the team wanted in Seattle. And also a game that we saw Alan Vlasic go down with a season-ending significant injury that's going to keep him out for a while. So it was a disappointing beginning of the playoffs for FC Dallas, but then they brought stuff back home, came back home, and, found a way to get the job done. A 3-1 win against Seattle at home, which means the game goes back to Seattle shortly. And so we're just going to break down both games. We're going to get caught up with both games as a playoff series so far and kind of figure out where we think this series goes on Friday evening as FC Dallas returns to Seattle to play the Sounders. So, Jose, everything's working, Jose? You got your audio back on? Yeah.
Yeah, I just got my battery low.
I
think so.
hear
it.
Contrast these two matches that we've seen so far. The loss, the really disappointing loss in Seattle, and then of course this solid win at home. What's your takeaways from the games?
Well, tale of two completely displaced. Really, you want to. So anyway, the first match, the loss. FC Dallas played pretty good initially, and it just feels like they got deflated as the game progressed. Especially once that penalty kick was awarded. And I know some people maybe try to wave that off as not a big deal, but it's a huge deal on the road, especially for a team that wants to keep the score 0-0 or keep it to a one goal. To see that you're playing pretty good on the road and then be awarded a PK like that and be down 1-0, you saw this team sort of demoralize itself, and we were concerned about how they would react in the second match, and certainly they rebounded, in a way that I don't think any of us anticipated, which is a good thing. They showed what they're capable of, especially at home, which is the first win at home in what, 3 months?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking. It's longer.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking just MLS and not including Leagues Cup. So yeah, it's a great way to rebound, and one match disappointment, seeing your team sort of deflate itself, and the second match, seeing them jump out to a big lead and then hold on and put it away. It was exciting stuff.
Seattle's always been a tough place to play for FC Dallas, and even I think this coming match. Well, we'll get to that a little bit, but yeah, you always want to keep things tight against Seattle, unless Seattle has one of those games, which they do every once in a while, like any soccer team, where they give up some dumb goals and they put themselves in a hole. But yeah, I think it was clear in Seattle, just things were not going their way, and the team couldn't find that next gear or that way to kind of just get back into it mentally. And losing a guy like Alan Velasco, who's been playing really well, has been in good form, and who is one of those players that's capable in FC Dallas to do something special. I think that's the challenge for this team. And here's what I like too about the game Saturday night. Paul Arriola scores. We haven't seen enough from Paul. I mean, he's worked hard this season. He's had some injuries, but man, we've needed him to get some more goals. And so good for him, and a big moment to get that opening goal, to be in the right place. Huge game from Bernard Kamungo, coming off injury, who just also seems to be a big answer to that, someone who can do something special, and then earns a PK that Jesus gets a goal, and it's Jesus' first goal in like 7 matches. He's had some assists, so this could be a game. And then you of course have Heider Oberon come off the bench, and he has options to pass, and he just keeps it for just a dagger at the end that squashed Seattle's hopes. So there's just a lot to like, and I think Jordan Morris had a great goal. Credit to him. Credit for Seattle looking dangerous throughout even this game, showing that they're a really quality team. They're not going to go down easily. So it's going to be a tough situation. And hey, the cards are stacked against, the deck is stacked against FC Dallas. Hey, Todd. Yeah, and they're a frustrating team to play against because you don't, like, some of these players, like, I just don't know why, like, are they that good? And yet they play well together. And I think Schmetzer's a good coach. So I'm going to give some credit there. But, yeah, I mean, you just want to continue to give yourself a chance. And now you don't have Velasco to do something special, but now you have Kamungo, who is showing some ability to be special. And so you have hope. Maybe Jesus feels a pressure lifted off of him. He got a goal. Maybe Paul Arriola, too, is going to go out there and play with a little less, like, he's got that goal too, and he can relax a little bit and just let the game come to him. So, and you have a guy like Liam Fraser stepping up. Sam Hunka has a pretty solid game. Imo Tomasi has looked good. So there's some real positives. It's going to be a hard fought match, and I think FC Dallas can at least go into Friday feeling some confidence. But yeah, I just have a number of thoughts because this is such an interesting series, and the rule changes as we talked about in our last pod. For Dallas, you keep it 1-0 in Seattle. Maybe you give up the early goal, and you just keep fighting, and then you just try to find that sloppy equalizer and take it to PKs and take your chances. I mean, you just extend the game as long as you can. And it's going to be an interesting matchup to see, and to see if they roll out the same lineup that they did at home. I don't know yet. I don't know what Nico is going to do on Friday. I think we'll all be watching that. But this is at least some justification that, hey, Dallas is better maybe than their record indicates in their form, that they can play well, and it's just figuring out how to unlock that going forward. So here's my question, Jose, and I wrote this in the little article I did on Afterburn today, afterburn.soccer. We watch North Texas soccer a lot, so we've seen Bernard Kamungo kind of emerge, and he's always been capable of doing something special. I don't know that we've necessarily seen the big game special. I mean, this was a big game. We've seen him do some great things in, of course, the regular season North Texas stuff. But like to take over a game in the first 20 minutes, which is what Kamungo did, I didn't have that in my script. That's way above my expectation for him. I mean, what do you think? What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, the one thing that we've all agreed about when it comes to Kamungo is that he shows he's got a lot of raw talent, a lot of good instincts, but nothing that yells, must start. We've been thinking of him as a guy that can maybe come in and have a good, 15, 20 minutes. And frankly, we're seeing him grow. We're seeing a guy who basically his confidence has been growing as the season progressed, and then of course with being called up for the what's it, Olympics or no, U23, right? The national team call up. I mean, this guy is just growing exponentially before our eyes, and we all talk about how Jesus and Velasco are basically our difference makers, but you have to say that Kamungo has become a difference maker in that vein, and looks ready to assert his position as a must start. Because let's face it, what's the biggest difference between game 1 and game 2 against Seattle? And that is Kamungo didn't really play game 1, and we were all wondering about that. We're all wondering, is he injured? What's the deal? Because you lose Velasco, and now you're short on playmakers, and you've got one sitting on the bench who has shown he can produce something out of nothing. And then he gets a start, and he gives you exactly what you think he can give you in spades, And so now the question is, are you going to start him in Seattle, because you have to. You pretty much have to. I want to do a quick shout out to another player though that has genuinely surprised me, and that's Frazier, who has basically.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. He came in the first game after the injury to Velasco, so he pretty much played most of that game, and then comes and starts this game, and the guy. I mean, the guy's just rock solid. I mean, there's nothing you can point at that says this guy's a must start. But I'll tell you what he brings. He brings stability. He brings a guy who has big game experience. Maybe he doesn't have big game talent, but you can tell that this guy has seen big moments and isn't phased by Seattle, by the big game atmosphere, and that's something you have to you know learn. You have to basically go through that experience. You can't just teach that. And whatever you think of Frazier and his abilities, at the end of the day, here's a guy who is just basically a solid veteran presence out there, and he doesn't do anything pretty, but he doesn't do anything that's gonna hurt you either. So the guy is just rock solid, and his presence out there is growing on me. It's basically
Sure.
he's basically Cerrillo minus all the drawbacks that Cerrillo would suffer. You know,
And a little more
and maybe
flexibility because he can play
yeah.
center back, and yeah,
Yes. And like I said, just a solid veteran presence out there. And he's 26, but I mean, let's face it, this guy's played in big games, uh, and on the international um, side of things. And I'm surprised, how he's kind of his role has steadily grown. And so
sure.
I just want to give a quick shout out to him. And my third shout out, of course, is to Hunqua, who started against instead of Farfan and you know played great, played
Hmm.
how he's played whenever he's been given a chance. And nobody, I don't think any fan here, basically complained that Farfan wasn't starting because Farfan has been kind of shaky of late. You have to wonder if that's just
Yeah.
fatigue.
Yeah, and also in just mental, you make a mistake, PK, which was unfortunate, but it was a PK in Seattle. Like it's tough. It's tough when you're in that kind of a big game. I think for a lot of players to come back from that and bounce back and just let that roll off. But yeah, Sam Hunka, he was sort of this interesting signing at the beginning of the season. It was just like, oh, this guy's just depth. I mean, that was about as interesting as it was. Like, oh, we need left back depth. Isaiah Parker's on loan, you know, being sent out. We need somebody. Oh, Sam Hunka, he's a guy's MLS experience, but we're not expecting much. He can play a little center back. He can play left back. And he's been quietly just a really nice steal. And so I don't know what his contract deals are, but I have to think he comes around. I mean, he's still on the squad next season. And who knows? It's just such a strange thing. So a couple of these guys, Liam Frazier, who also is like this classic MLS roster building kind of signing. Not flashy, but a guy that has experience and depth, that's familiar with the league, but is the kind of guy you need if you want to actually have a championship level team. You need guys like that who can give you good solid minutes and fill spots on the roster and make a surprising contributions. So good signings from this team, from this front office, that are certainly paying off in these key moments. And again, to go back to Kumungo, a nod back to this development system that FC Dallas is still working on, but has in place, that's able to produce and develop some guys that can make a difference as the season unfolds. So, like I said in my article today, like even if FC Dallas goes out and loses against Seattle, which is probably, if I was a betting man, that's where I'd be leaning toward. Seattle at home. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough matchup. Not impossible, but a tough matchup. But even for 2024, I think FC Dallas fans can say, hey, we might be disappointed how this season unfolded, but there's some reasons to be really positive about 2024 and the development of some of these players and the way that this roster can continue to be improved upon going forward. But that's, we can get to that down the line. For now, man, I wanted nothing more than for a couple of Seattle players to get a second yellow. Man, that would have been so wonderful.
That would have helped out.
But they're a
I
smart
want
team.
to,
They're a veteran team.
you brought up Hunqua, and I want to say, in today's modern game with the five substitutes allowed, you want your team to have five guys that can come off the bench and give you significant minutes and even be capable of starting. And you're seeing Dallas is finding those guys now. Hunqua, you got Frazier, who wouldn't be starting if Velasco wasn't injured. You got, take your pick, Kamungo or Obrian, depending on who's starting. You know, Leggett, if he ever gets healthy, but of course, right now he's not. But there's your fourth guys, and then it's just a matter if of this team finding players like that aren't going to break the bank, that are MLS veterans, which this team traditionally shies away from signing other MLS players. And to see Hunqua and Frazier come in and give us solid minutes, it kind of tells you that, hey, maybe you need to do that a little bit more, because if there are bargain players like that can come in and give you significant minutes and not break the bank, or not even come close to breaking the bank, in all honesty, that's what you want. And it's kind of exciting to see this team. Honestly, I like the team as is, and it's just missing some pieces. That third center back, that backup striker. But other than those two holes, I think we're pretty good everywhere else.
Yeah, and of course we'll get to those sort of postseason conversations. I think it's
Yeah.
a little early, but it is fascinating.
Yeah, but for
Make me
this season
think.
build though, it's pretty good
Yeah.
considering all the holes we had.
And some of the business, I don't think any of us predicted that Edwin Cerrillo would be traded away, but I think, yeah, in this league, you got to be willing to say if the right price comes along for a player, and take it, and it helps you.
Edwin and Cervania.
And
Well,
Sylvania,
who
right?
saw that coming?
And so it's been a strange season in some of that respect, but also a season where some of these signings and decisions have sort of come out pretty well for FC Dallas. So some good stuff. For me, like I do think this next match, I'm gonna be watching Jesus. Not that everything's riding on Jesus, but I think this is a match where we really need him to step up.
Well, not just him, but I mean, we need our big guns to step up. Not just him, not just Ferreira.
But I think for me, it's I still I love Jesus being closer to goal. I love him. I don't mind him having freedom. I know he's a creative player and he has a number of assists, but I just think we really need to make FC Dallas needs to make Seattle uncomfortable as much as possible at home, and keep them on edge. But we'll see. We'll see how this team lines up. I know obviously the defense is going to be hugely important too, and the goal that Jordan Morris scored. There was a stretch there where FC Dallas was pushing so high and sort of inviting those kinds of runs. And Bernard, for all of his good game, I mean, his poor pass led to that goal. So that's a young player's mistake. You like him just to boot the ball out of bounds at the very worst if he's unsure, and then you get reset. But so there's some lessons to learn there too. But I think I'm curious I'm curious how Nico will line his guys up, and if he's going to be that sort of aggressive with the back line, or if that's a weakness they saw with Seattle.
I want to see them be aggressive in the third game. Come on, this potentially your last match of the season if you don't show up, and so I don't know how you fail to get motivated for that. And I want to see Dallas come out swinging, and I'd rather they lose swinging than trying to kill the game and allowing a goal here and a goal there, and then we end up with a replay of the first game. I want a combative team. I want to see some yellow cards. Let's go out there. Let's put some fight up. I want to see a team that's going to be, make it a chippy game. I mean, I don't mind if it's chippy. It's Seattle. They're going to scrape and scrap to try to win. So you need to match that. You need to match them at all levels, and hopefully the refs don't punish us more than they punish them, which
Yeah.
is always the concern on the road.
Well, all right. Well, good stuff. I mean, it's been an interesting couple of weeks here. We got soccer. It's going to be edge of a seat, and My gut is that Dallas is going to make a mistake early on. Seattle's going to get a goal, and it's going to be all about just for this team figuring out how to hold on to keep their head in the game, and clawing their way back in, and drawing it up, or finding that late goal that's a miracle kind of thing, which has happened before, and to get the momentum in their favor. And then who knows? PKs are 50-50. It's just
It just feels like getting a win in this series against Seattle, and whether it's via PK or in regulation or what have you in the third game. I think that if that happens, then you'll see this team suddenly feel like they've taken a step forward. Because let's face it, Seattle is one of our especially when it comes to end of season bogey teams, and being able to get that off your back, I think that would be massive for this team, regardless of what happens going forward. It's a sign that you are headed in the right direction, and I think that's what we all want to see. We want to see this team not be satisfied with a first round appearance and exit. We want them to fight and claw and find a way to get to that next round, and build build from that, because I think that's races your goals for the following season. You can't just say, oh, hey, we made it to the first round, we're good. Is that going to be the goal for next round? No, it should be advance, get past this Seattle team, get to the next round, and now you've set the stage for the expectations for next season. Say, hey, we can't just be satisfied with making the playoffs. We've shown that we can advance. Now we need to, advance. Make that our goal, to be better and better and better every year. So let's go out there, let's beat Seattle, and let's get over that hump.
Well, sounds good. It's good stuff. Good things to look forward to. Now we'll shift gears a little bit, and I'll say this week I did get to interview a week ago or so North Texas interim head coach John Gall. Ask him a few questions. We'll have a little piece about Hope Avayevu's future to drop on the site. But in North Texas news, and of course there's no head coaching news, as John Gall, I think, is still in contention for that permanent position, but I don't know how soon the team will either make that call, or if they're interviewing other candidates, or what they think about it. But let me see if I can. Yeah, in interesting news, North Texas and really FC Dallas sent some GAM money to was it to Chicago?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep,
to acquire the rights to Leonardo Orejarina. Interesting guy, a really young. He's only 16. Is
15?
That right?
Isn't it 15?
15. Yeah, 15 years old, but has already kind of played up age level, been quite an attacking force. And really, exciting young talent there. 20 goals and 15 assists for the Barca Academy in Arizona during his 2 seasons there. So a really interesting talent that shows FC Dallas being sort of aggressive and willing to spend kind of big for this young guy.
That's a lot for a teenager, and a change in direction that we've seen recently from North Texas, with signing several 16-year-olds and now a 15-year-old, and it shows you, and taking advantage of the whole homegrown situation, where you can sign all the homegrowns you want. And so if you can convince a team across the country to basically trade their players' homegrown rights, why wouldn't you do it? Especially if you're really high on them. And I think it shows the commitment from the club and the ownership and the management of, hey, we've seen a drop within our academy. It's still producing talent, but it's not producing the high level talent that it's produced in the past. So we need to go out aggressively, and if we need to take players from other teams, then let's do it. And I think that's exciting to see that the team is showing you that, hey, we're still about youth. If we 300 gam for a youth player, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see them willing to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a really exciting. It shows their confidence that this kid is, and he's young. I mean, he's got a lot of time, so it's not like we're going to see him in an FC Dallas uniform in a year or two. It may be 3 or 4 years, but if he's showing that he's a really special talent, because essentially this is what they did with Ricardo Pepi, identified a really young, talented player and brought him into the system to develop him. And so, hey, maybe is this kid the next young phenom that we got to look out for? Hey, we'll see. We'll see.
And let me tell you, as an FCD fan, I find this move comforting because we've seen the senior team go away from the youth. You trade away Cerrillo, you trade away Cervania, and you're signing veterans that are older instead of the younger FCD academy products. And so to see them say go out there and actually spend on acquiring younger, like extremely young talent. I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see that this team is saying, "Hey, we may be going, more experienced on a senior team, but we still value youth, and we're still a team that values youth above all else, and more so than most teams in this league. And there's got to be teams out there that don't value youth as much that we can go after their players, and they'd be more than happy to sell for the right price. And you know, I don't think you'll see FC Dallas do that, sell their guys to other teams, academy age anyway. I'm happy to see them basically go to other territories and sign talent.
So really fun news and something to kind of pique your interest in about next season for North Texas. That roster's in development, and there'll be some other signings and some other tryouts and things unfolding for North Texas. But I give you something to look forward to, as he'll be a guy that I'm sure will begin to feature for North Texas as we get into 2024.
And just want to do a quick shout out to North Texas, basically becoming a Division III talent factory, basically pumping out players that go on to become key players, key starters for other teams in Division III. You already saw three players really from FC Dallas, from the academy through North Texas, basically be in the final MLS Next Pro final, and then you have Maldonado, who was started for North Carolina, who won the title. And so yeah, man, it's great to see that these players are going on and having careers and becoming key players, even not at the highest level, at least at Division III and Division II levels within this country.
Well, in my conversation with John Gall, with interim head coach John Gall, I asked him specifically about Hope Aveyevu. The team announced their contract options and things. And Hope has been one of those talents, one of those dynamic forces for North Texas. The question was, hey, is there and basically I asked him just point blank, like, hey, Hope has been so important to this team. Is the message that, hey, that we might see him in Frisco next season, or is it time for him to explore other options? And the message from Coach Gall was essentially, we told him that we appreciated his contributions, but it's time for him to explore his next step elsewhere. So we won't see, in all likelihood, I mean, who knows, but we likely won't see Hope around in Frisco anymore, which, like Ronaldo Damus, who is also a standout with North Texas, probably makes sense for him to continue his career. Yeah, but
and it just shows that that the club has basically stuck to their guns. Where, hey, we're going to give you 2 years, maybe we're willing to give you a third year, but if we feel like you're not going to make the jump then we're gonna move on from you. And it's good for both the team and the player because at this way they're not uh, the player is free to seek out other teams that are willing to give them that shot that they're not going to get with FC Dallas, and and continue their development elsewhere. Like I said, if you're a starter for North Texas, you're going to be in high demand at least at the Division 3 level, guaranteed. So hope gets released. We're all sad that he may not. I'm sure he'll probably get a camp invite. To see if he can still impress. But he's now free to basically go sign to other teams that are looking for a difference maker in Division 3 or maybe even Division 2. With the USL Championship, teams that are in need of talent. I would say keep an eye on North Carolina. I believe that they won the title in USL League One, but I believe they'll be playing USL Championship next year. So they're a team that is going to be looking to add upgrades or improve their talent. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's a team that invites someone like Hope and say, hey, you're a young player, we're moving up, you're a player that could probably help us. So I think he'll be a hot commodity at the lower divisions. Looking forward to see where he lands.
Yeah, so look for that conversation to be posted with John Gall. Asked him a few questions just about where North Texas is and everything in the season, and we pull in some pieces from that and maybe post the rough audio from that as well as a bonus episode for those who subscribe to the podcast. But I think that's a good place to leave us, to leave the conversation. Yep. There's soccer yet to be played. I got to say some of the playoffs have been pretty exciting games. There's been a lot of action, more to come, and let's just hope FC Dallas goes into Seattle and gets the job done. We're all hoping for something special, but hey, it was nice on Saturday night to celebrate a big win at home, at the very least. Something to build on
over a bitter rival.
Yeah, over a bitter rival. Yeah,
the best ones.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Todd, Marcin, everybody for reaching out, for following along. Please like and subscribe. And, of course, check out afterburn.soccer for some content. We'll be, looking in the weeks ahead, too, to see whatever happens, kind of our future for the site and where we want to go with the site and stuff. But we're just enjoying that you all subscribe and watch along with us here and follow FC Dallas with us. All right, good night, everybody. Thanks, Jose.
Good night, everyone. Thanks.